So onto the batch leaves now, and this is a really fast step. We're going to jump into the Cassia Jungle 1, and we're going to view from the batch leaves. Just look like this. I think we'll make sure the camera's locked. We'll just sort of zoom in, I think, a little bit. Yeah, somewhere around that, I think is one. For efficiency, we're going to copy all of this, I think. All of this block, which is the Atlas leaves that we did with the single leaves. I'll copy the diffuse texture as well. So I'll copy that, paste it all the way below. We'll plug the diffuse texture into the diffuse color slot. And we always need a sprite node. Let's paste that, plug that in. So this is what's this is what's cutting out our leaves. Let's load in the correct texture. So I'm going to go back to trees, African Cassian Jungle 1 leaves, and it's the forefront 2 leaf this time. So I've converted these. We're only going to use 4 maps, which is really cool. Load that in, copy the file path. I don't think we're going to use a translucency amount, but let's paste it anyway and find it. Translucency color. Just make sure that's got the diffuse in. Cool. Roughness map. And lastly, a normal map. Up one folder because we didn't convert those to the ASIS color space. Let's create a redshift material, so the shading group to go right at the end. Plug that in. This is no longer our leaves single atlas, this is our leaves batched. And this is just a single-sided material. Let's copy all that text, paste it here, out, and we'll drop this onto the leaves. Open up the Redshift render view, hit delete on that screenshot, zoom in. We also need to input our alpha map in this slot. Just going to grab that file path. So we'll input our alpha map to get the correct cutout. So opacity B. Load that. It's looking not too great. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to disable this color correct. So I think that's doing some crazy things to the translucency color. Let's delete that, we don't need it anymore. We're going to leave the roughness as it is, because I think the roughness is fine. Let's take out the translucency amount as well, so we'll see the difference. Okay. Let's also take out the translucency color because I don't think that's working either. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to undo those steps, and I'm going to show you what the translucency amount is looking like. So let's view that raw texture. If it'll let me do it. Supply that. And you can see there's absolutely no variation on any of these leaves. So it's not really doing anything. I mean, we might as well not have a translucency map in there we might as well just lift the backlighting weight all the way up to 1, because all of these leaves have the same value. There's no breakup. So let's delete this map. We're not going to use it. We're going to use an RS noise instead to introduce a little bit more detail in the backlighting weight. Let's plug this into the redshift material, and under the noise tab, you guys know the drill. Something around that. It's looking kind of cool. Yeah, those settings are fine. Let's plug this into the reflection weight. And instead of using this translucency color, let's delete it. Let's just change this backlighting color to a, we'll drop that material back on top first. So we've got that. And we put that in the reflection weight. Let's make sure that goes in the translucency weight. You can see our noise coming through there, but it's the wrong color. Let's make it sort of like a nice greeny color here. A little bit more yellow in there, I think. I think something around that looks kind of nice. It's not looking too bad there. Let's disable this color correct here. It's looking better. Let's just delete it. Delete the translucency color. Just going to mess around with this a little bit more here. Make that a little bit more colorful, I think. Just like that. That's looking a lot better already. Just remember that leaves are very, very thin. So you're getting a hell of a lot of translucency on most leaves. Let's drop down an RS change range. We'll drop that in after the RS noise to turn those black levels down, or turn the white levels down, sorry. So let's view it. Drop that on top, so we're viewing the trans amount noise right now. And wherever there's white, that's where we're going to get translucency or backlighting. So if we just slide down the white levels, we're going to get less backlighting. Let's apply that material again. Let's take a screenshot and we'll turn this off. So we'll set the white levels to 0, so there's no backlighting happening now. So you can see the backlighting makes a huge difference, like massive. I think that's looking pretty cool. I've got some settings here, so I'm going to show you guys. I'm just going to go into my notes and find them. So I've got, for the color, I had 0.293, 0.36 and 0.111 in here. I think for the backlighting I had around 0.4. Maybe I don't know, maybe we can go up a little bit. I kind of like it when we start to really lift up those shadows. It looks really nice. My RS noise settings were as follows. So I had 23.96 to, yeah. So not too much of a difference there. The normal map, I left at 1. Found that gave quite a nice result. Let's zoom in. Let's see what this looks like. And if you had the material or had the texture, you could do a double-sided material just like we did with the Atlas double-sided material. And this looks okay, this material. It's not my favorite one, but I think this is going to hold up quite nicely when we're further away. Let's go back out. I'm going to stop the render, jump in, and we're going to assign our materials now, so we're able to view the entire tree. First, what I'll do is I'll zoom out, and we'll view from the merge node. So that's merging all of our assets into one, like that. Drop a material here, load in our material for the bark. So bark out, copy and paste that material, so one here as well. This one is our leaf single atlas, copy and paste that material, drop it in here. And this one is our batched out. And when I do this, I usually export a relative reference. So if you copy this into another scene, it should update. There you go. Then you can get rid of this material on the upper level as it's not actually doing anything. Or you could leave it in, it's up to you. Open the render view. See from here. What we'll do is we'll increase the resolution to something like 2000 by 2000, jump into the ROPNet, and this is where we can adjust our render settings. So currently our minimum samples are at 4 and 16. That's not going to be enough for sort of final production render. You'd want to go with, I guess for a final render, I usually go with something between 128 and 512. And that's probably going to boost our render up to something like a 2-3 minute render for something like this, maybe with one asset, maybe 30 seconds. So we can, I don't know, we can do something like 64 by 64. You see that's looking really cool there. I think we'll just zoom in just a little bit. See what that's looking like. Yeah, I think that's looking pretty cool. Getting some nice backlight in there. We haven't really done too much to the shader. I mean, we've sort of tweaked it a little bit. In the translucency amount, we have a noise controlling how much backlighting there is, which is kind of cool. So that's nice and procedural. For the color is procedural as well, so you could update that if you wanted. We're using the roughness map with a little bit of noise mixed in. But if you were to zoom in at this angle, you'd assume that was sort of a real image, which is kind of cool. Bark's looking pretty good as well. Could maybe increase the dirt on there just a touch. But I think overall that's looking pretty good. And every other material I create now, I more or less just repeat those same steps. So I imported the third asset, which is the Acacia Savannah 1. Did exactly the same thing here. And if we look inside the Acacia Savannah 1 materials, I've not even done anything. I've applied the same materials from the Acacia Jungle 1, and these are just applied on the materials here. So on the bark, I put the Acacia Jungle 1 bark on there. For the clustered leaves that we exported, I put the leaves batched, and for the batch leaves, I put the leaves single atlas ones. That sounds a little bit backwards. because the naming was slightly different in SpeedTree. But what I'd recommend doing is open up SpeedTree, seeing which ones are the batch leaves, which ones are the clustered ones, and then just adjust the materials accordingly. So this is the result I got from that. And we didn't even do anything, which is great. And this means that we can just keep on applying the same materials over and over again onto each of the assets and get different looks. So let's import our fourth asset, which is the Baobab 2 field Madagascar. So I'm going to do exactly as we did before, just copy and paste. And as I do this, I'm going to turn this into manual, so it stops things from loading. We'll call this one Baobab field 2. So that. Let's call materials. Jump inside. Delete the clustered leaves. We only have 2 assets for this. Let's load in Baobab 2 field and obj main and the batch leaves. Copy and paste that path, load in the batch leaves. The bark, we're going to do something different for this bark. And the leaves, we're just going to use the leaves we did in the Acacia Jungle 1, and they're going to be the batch leaves, I think. So let's load in those Acacia Jungle 1 leaf single atlas for the batch leaves. That'll be fine. So this time around, I'm just going to rename this sticky. I created a sticky note. I right clicked on it and set text size to like extra large so you guys can see it. So in this, I want to say uses Acacia Jungle atlas leaves. Then that way, if someone jumps into your scene, they know exactly what asset is using what materials. But this time round, we're going to create a bark material for this. So I think we'll copy the bark material from the Acacia Jungle 1 materials, wherever that is. I think we create it at the top somewhere. I think it'd be a good idea to actually go through and add a sticky note above, just saying what each of these materials are. I think we'll do that towards the end. So I'll copy that, paste it in, and all I'm going to do is I'm just going to replace these files with the Baobab bark files. There's only 2 of them, which is nice and easy to update, rough. Let's copy the file path from here. It can actually be really time consuming going through and replacing files. Just make it as fast as possible, really. Keep the dirt in there. I think the normal map, I don't know whether I think there is one. Let's paste that link in again, jump up a level, and we'll be about bark normal. I think there should be, I think that's right. Yeah, let's load that one in. Jump up a level, jump into the geometry node, and we're going to replace this material. So let's find our Baobab 2 field Madagascar materials, and we'll apply that bark material, export relative path. And this time we'll change this to auto update and let that load. Okay, it takes a moment. Okay, so that's loaded. I'm just going to frame this up a little bit better in my camera. So make sure you're in the camera. Open the render view. And we'll render it. That's looking really cool. And yet again, we didn't really do anything to the leaves. We just reused the leaves that were already on there. I'm just going to test this, that we haven't got anything else on. Make sure we turn this off as well, this one. I didn't realise that the Acacia Savannah one was on. Let's re-render that to it correctly this time around. There you go. So this is using the Atlas leaves we made from the Acacia Jungle 1 model. We haven't updated anything. All we did is just put the material on these leaves. Nice. And that's the fourth asset done. And you can see how fast this is getting. So once you set up the initial materials, you can just keep duplicating them over and putting them on new assets, which is great.